Everyone, I'm Yodisha Pawar, Business Consultant of AIT Global India. Welcome to our webinar series, Leadership Summit 2021, on our third session. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We have received amazing response yesterday and today. We are excited to bring these amazing leaders to share their leadership experiences and digital transformation journey. Check out our AIT Global India website for further details. We have with us Bayan Qandil. I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Bayan.
Yeah.
Great. So he is currently CEO of Property CA and working with Property CA since 2018. He has experience in the functions of software development, program management, product management, and corporate strategy. Bayan is interested in mobile health globally and with the goal of improving healthcare delivery and healthcare systems. Though he's working in real estate right now, but he has an immense experience in different domains. We also have Shane Sell with us, co-founder of Stack, founder of Agile Digital, is an accomplished director and entrepreneur, bringing over 20 years of experience in leadership, consulting, mentoring within the digital change and agile transformation space. Let me know if I missed something. Bayan, Shane?
No, I think
You're
good. Everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bayan and Shane, for joining us today. We are really happy to have you. So we are trying to have this space for our audience to share the digital and leadership transformation, because since 2019, 2020 has been very different. The way things have moved, there's a dramatic change caused due to the pandemic across all the parts of our lives, including work. Millions of offices employees have shifted to remote work. As we have been talking earlier, we are checking emails, we are talking to our employees virtually. We don't know their faces because they have changed. We have different people joining in. So there is lots of dramatic change in the business across world. Forward-thinking companies that want to stay relevant to the future need a cloud strategy that is separate from their work from home strategy. Shane, just if you can give me some suggestions.
Yeah, certainly. One of the key things I've noticed, and actually speaking with a lot of our customers, is digital transformation today has accelerated massively since the pandemic started. What we're finding is a lot of customers and companies are looking at quicker ways to adopt a hybrid and mobile workforce. Companies up until maybe 5 years ago were spending copious amounts of money on building the best offices to attract the best talent. Google, Facebook, real big companies making, state-of-the-art pool tables, etc. Now with this pandemic, what that's taught you is it is okay to work from home and you can be equally productive. But the downside of that is companies have really struggled to build up their capability with their cloud infrastructure to support the mass rollout of remote working.
Yeah. Bayan, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, we, personally, our company had very little problems doing this because we were already very much cloud enabled. Everything was cloud driven, and we were already kind of flexible in our working environment. But I agree, like most of our partners that we work with are struggling, and it's really that they have to do 10 years worth of digital transformation in a month. Technically they tried, they couldn't, obviously, they're still trying to do it, right? So for sure, I 100% agree. It's really accelerated, and cloud strategies is very key.
Yeah, the pandemic actually raised a lot of awareness about the low adaptability of organization around the world. While some organizations that were already following the agile methodology were able to easily adapt to the new changes, for others, this pandemic has been an ongoing affirmations to rely on the agile methodology or the new practices, that helps organizations to adapt to the new normal that we are calling it these days. So Bayan, how is being agile in 2020 different from being agile in 2021?
It's an interesting question. there's a lot of kind of monoliths out there that haven't really adopted Agile for various reasons, or they've adopted it in a very specific way. So, when you talk to Agile with most companies or most leaders, what they think about is product development.
Yeah.
Right. Being Agile in software development specifically, right? Everything else is not really Agile. And, I worked at BlackBerry for years where we basically had to make the software development team work Agile, but also interacting with the rest of the corporation that wasn't Agile. I think that has to change. I mean, it's starting to change with some companies, but I'm not sure if it's being fully adopted. But the idea would be to go Agile top to bottom, right? Your strategic planning, this yearly strategic planning that kind of, or 5-year planning that is interesting, has to change, because just like your software development team and the product development team has to continuously change to meet its customer demands, you as a company should be doing the same. And the customer demographic is changing. They're more social, they're more vocal, and they want to see the changes immediately in your corporate culture and everything. And so you have to think about Agile from top to bottom, right? Not just in software and product development.
Shane, same question, because you are an Agile practitioner, and I'm pretty sure you have seen the change, like the industry who have been already adopted, but again, because of the pandemic, they have moved to new strategies or new ways of being Agile. What's your thought on that?
Yeah.
How is that different from 2021 and 2020?
No, I think in fact, I was having this conversation with one of my good friends, Carl Adamson, who runs his own Agile training company, Agilistics. One of the key things that we were kind of talking through was a business looking at Agile from 2020 to a business looking at Agile for 2021 really depends on what their strategy and transformation is. So if you think about today, the Agile journey should incorporate cloud, because cloud is singly one of the biggest and fastest growing, hot topics on any CIO, CTO's radar. Twinned with then adopting Agile, there's a big mistake a lot of companies make in Agile, and Brian probably agree with this, that company says, well, I'm going to be Agile. So they go out to the market, they hire a couple of people, and they read the Agile manifesto, and a couple of the Agile books, and then everyone gets T-shirts saying, hey, I'm Agile. And then the organization are running around telling everyone they're Agile. Agile really, really starts at the beginning of a cultural change where everyone aligns to understanding what that journey is and what part they play in that journey. Now, what you'll get in that journey is people, say from 2-3 years ago, who don't want to be a part of this new age, new technology, remote working, digital working, etc. They're going to be the blockers, the impediments in your Agile journey. And what businesses should be doing is removing those from that journey, because they're going to really affect the overall delivery. And what they should really be focusing on is, where do we want to be? You can't really look at a 5-year plan today, because COVID taught us that a 5-year plan sometimes needs to be ripped up. But what they can do is do a softer plan to say, well, as an organization, we would love to be more Agile. And therefore, we need to look at, does Agile work for us as a business? Or do we need to follow parts of the Agile manifesto? And actually, do we need to look at lean? Where are we wasting, resources and so on? So I think there's a number of different answers to that one. From 2020 to 2021, it really depends on where that business wants to go and if they truly, truly want to become an Agile organization.
Thank you, Shane. Many of the organizations have been planning for digital transformation and improving agility in their business processes, do not have the technological assets, expertise, or capabilities that you have very nicely mentioned that are required to build and host a cloud digital workspace or by themselves. How low-code and no-code platforms help organizations achieve agility with custom digital workplace? Shane.
Who's that? Oh, to me.
It's okay. Anyone.
So companies can deploy Agile into the workspace, and they can still do Scrum, their daily sprints, etc. You don't have to, although to be in physically the same room to do these sprints, etc. is great. really today, you don't have to, as long as you've got a committed team who are accountable for their delivery, and they kind of plug in, they do their work, and the team communicate on a daily basis, then that remote workforce is as good as actually someone sat in the office. And in fact, sometimes remote workforce are a lot more productive because they haven't got that noise of let's go make a coffee or let's go out for lunch. So their time 8 till say 6 is really condensed to doing their work.
Thanks, Shane. Bayan, with the rise of microservices and distributed architectures, platforms have grown increasingly complex, with most of the business moving towards a 24/7 model. Building resilient and fault-tolerant systems are required more than ever. Failures in such systems are costly, and even a brief outrage can impact the company's operations and customer experience. Company needs a solution to these challenges, and waiting for the next outrage to identify the next cause of this issue is not a feasible option anymore. So to meet up these challenges, what is your recommendations?
Pretend they're going to happen tomorrow. It's funny, right? Like in the last 3 companies I've worked for, the first thing I've done when I joined the company, irrespective of the role that I joined in, was look at their disaster recovery. It is shocking. I worked on a lot of small businesses, and with the exception of maybe BlackBerry, that was a really, really large company that I worked for that already had this worked out. Yeah. Most small businesses don't even think about it. They're too busy trying to get money in the door and keeping their system up. They don't think about the fact that something bad could really happen. And so that is one of the first things we look into, and it's a matter of putting a plan together, kind of tailoring that plan for your real business needs, because the cost could get out of whack. It's becoming easier to do with existing tool sets and cloud platforms, I will say. It gets difficult maybe if you have everything on-prem or, machines under your desk because you're really a true startup. But as you kind of, grow and get to a point where you're doing, using cloud platforms, it can be costly a little bit, but if you plan it accordingly and make sure you test it then regularly, then you can get yourself in a good place. And it's extremely important, right? There are businesses who, forget even errors, with the increase in ransomware attacks across the world, especially during the pandemic. Like even one of those could take you down, and your disaster recovery should account for that, right? So it's a key thing, and the recommendation is plan it early, plan it for your business needs, and test it regularly, because you don't want to know that it doesn't work the day that you have a disaster, right?
True. Okay, on a very lighter note, how the leadership has changed and not changed in before pandemic and after pandemic. I know, because we are as a leader, you are managing team virtually, so there might be different sets of challenges that has happened, when you were going to office, or when we are handling it through different workspace. Now everything is virtual. So what do you think that has changed and not changed?
Yeah, so go ahead. Please, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You start speaking first. You go ahead.
I'm just noticing the pattern, so I assume that was directed to me.
There is no pattern.
Really, please go ahead, Shane.
Thank you. I remember a comment that was made about 2-3 years ago, and it was at the time where I was doing some work with a company, and remote working really was it was scarce. To go remote working, you had to really justify why you wanted to remote work, to the point that the trust issue just didn't feel like it was there. Now, if you went to a chief exec or CTO or whatever, say 2 years ago, and said, right, I'm going to make our workforce pretty much 90% remote, home working, and we're going to build the infrastructure in the cloud to do that, they'll probably look at you and think that you were going crazy, and they probably would have fired you. Now, flip that on its head to now, the 2 years down the line where we've had the COVID pandemic, businesses that survive and having to build in that remote working, factoring it into their business. If you look at the leaders, they have to adapt and evolve. Because if they don't, that trust element of people working from home, building code, getting products out the door, etc., being able to do virtual meetings, even if that person needs to go to the doctors, it's just having that level of trust that that person's going to do the work. And on the flip side, if you're that developer or that consultant, that privilege of working from home is a privilege. It's cutting down time, it's giving you more family time, the work-life balance. You've got to make sure that you're delivering and you're not taking, the mick. You've got to plug in and do the work as you've planned. So I think the biggest thing for me is leadership are changing their mind in terms of having to believe more that they can get the work done with the resources being dotted around the country working from home.
Yeah. Bayan, your thoughts? Because I am pretty sure that even at AIT, we have seen the change, and our leaders has become more involved with the team. They want to make sure that how teams are performing. And that was there before, but now they are doing one-on-one connect more because, that is required. So I really wanted to understand, what has not changed and changed, before pandemic and after pandemic. Bayan, your thoughts?
Yeah, the key word there that Shane used a couple of times was trust. And it's really the emotion that should drive this change, right? So, I've been deliberate in my recent work choices, right? Probably for the last 6-7 years, I've only worked at places that actually had this expectation of trust. And, like my last company was my first example of a true trustworthy company where there was unlimited vacation, unlimited work from anywhere you want. It doesn't matter if it was in the cottage or over in India, down in South Africa, it doesn't make a difference as long as you did your work. And so that is the key here. I would say that what has changed, I think, but will definitely need to change if it hasn't yet, is the focus on objectives and true value for the company, right? So historically, what leaders would do is you get everybody in the same building and you let social inertia kind of make sure they're doing the work, and people focus on project management. That's roughly it, right? And I'm obviously simplifying. It's more than that, but now you have to look at the pandemic taught us two things. One, you have to trust your people, but two, you really should care about their well-being. And if you didn't before, because it was obvious that it was taken care of by society, it matters now because society can't cover everything. And you asking them to work from home is really you saying, I want to care for your well-being, but also now I have to take care of your well-being, right? Meaning I want to make sure you're comfortable at home. All these ergonomic rules that maybe companies used to have in the company now have to apply at home. You have to protect the work-life balance because it's a very slippery slope when all of a sudden they are working 8 to 7 full-time, no breaks, no lunches, no coffee breaks, which does happen, believe it or not. Now I'm sure that's the opposite too, but it all depends on the culture of the company and just the work demands. And so the type of leadership that is starting to emerge more, I think, is one that is less about workers working for you because you pay them and more about I pay you to get some stuff done and you in return increase the value of my company or increase the value to our customers. And it's a relationship that is a symbiotic relationship, not I'm working and your butt shall be in the seat all day to kind of deliver something, right?
It's more collaborative. So how are we doing happy hours? Generally,
we are
Friday.
We're still doing them, right? So my company, we have a virtual happy hour. We've even sent out gift cards to cover some of the happy hour activities, right? Not every Friday anymore. I think it's every other Friday now, and we don't always cover, but it's like we're trying. We sent the care package recently, which was basically a big box of things for everyone, saying, hey, this is all the stuff you might have gotten across all the happy hours. Right, there you go. 6 months worth, maybe not all drinks, by the way, but 6 months worth.
6 months. Oh my God, right? That's amazing. Employees will love that.
They did. I think it was the gesture. It didn't even cost that much, right? It's just the gesture of it.
Absolutely.
And they really appreciated it. It was like with a thank you note, but we still do them. I think it's important to actually think about the culture of the company in a remote environment, which is a little bit tricky, right? You get rid of the gossip, of the work environment a little bit, but you also get rid of the good stuff from the work environment, the camaraderie, the collaboration, right? And so we try our best to keep that around.
It sounds exciting. Shin, I was there in UK. I remember every Friday, 4 o'clock, there was a happy hour at different, places, especially at Greenwich or Central London, if you go to it. So there's like happy hour sessions, and there's so much crowd, and they enjoy those sessions, and they are all in their suits when they are doing that.
Yeah. So in the office, one of the companies I worked with, we called it beer o'clock, and it was 4 o'clock. And we kind of set a few metrics in place, and and they got through the end of the day, and it was kind of like a way of letting off steam, getting to the end of the week, relaxing, a sense of achievement. Just want to touch on one point actually, and I think this is really important, that one of the biggest things that I think is being overlooked at the moment with remote working as well is mental health.
Yeah.
Now, isolating yourself, sat at home, not having someone to talk to, working hard, and you do get it. Some people are, 9 o'clock till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. They're working themselves really tough. They don't feel that appreciation, etc. What you are finding is there's a massive spike then in mental health, and at some point there's going to become a bit of an issue where businesses need to be investing a lot more into putting more caveats in place to help isolate that. I'm not sure how, but I think companies really need to look at, as a softer side, mental health as a part of their transformation program, because it's about the people first, but then the process of doing the work second.
Absolutely. This mental health issue has been, I think most of the companies are kind of raising that point, because everyone is working in silos, and you are not prepared for it. It just happened overnight, and then we have to adapt to that eventually. So that's a great point, Shane. And I completely agree. We all are working on it, and we need to keep on working on it to make sure that our employees, and as a society also, we are contributing to the mental health or awareness about it, that we're supporting our teams. Okay, moving back to the agile development, I have a very good question here. A digital workplace helps achieve agility in organizations by introducing digital tools that can improve collaboration, enhance communication, and streamline business processes. How does a digital workplace augment the whole agile development process?
Is that one?
Shane.
A lot of it comes from the people that you're deploying internally to actually help drive the Agile Manifesto. So, if you look at a lot of transformation programs, to encompass all those tools from different parts of the business, what you need is different people in the business who are sponsoring and promoting, whether or not that's technology, whether or not that's through HR, etc. So before you start looking at the kind of tools or technologies or platforms, you really need to have the right sponsors in the business who believe in the agile change and work very hard to making sure that that's aligned.
Thanks, Shane. Bayan, could you please share why you were part of a healthcare sector and then you moved to the property CA? That's a different move altogether from healthcare, technology, and then real estate. What's your vision for property CA? And why the transition?
I was like, which one is it? The transition? Is it the transition question or the vision question? So I would, it's interesting, right? Like my personal mission statement has always been helping companies reach their goals by leveraging technology. Right. I just feel that there are better ways, and it's not just technology. When I say technology, I mean all the processes around technology as well, and kind of incorporating this new way of thinking about your business, right? And so that's always been my goal. I started my career in healthcare because I have a really strong affinity to healthcare. So I think out of the 22 years of experience that I have, probably 12 or 13 of them, maybe even more, is healthcare. But then I also did, I worked in the leisure space. Actually, I met some of AIT leadership in the leisure space under flytnetwork.com. I worked in telecom, although telecom and healthcare, that's always been my mantra. And then I real estate. And really my goal has always been I discover a challenge for a business, and I try to help them achieve getting over that challenge by leveraging tech and new processes. So when the opportunity presented itself that I can get into real estate, I took the chance because I could see what this company was trying to do. And what this company was trying to do is change the relationship between the consumer and the real estate transaction, right? Historically, it's a very archaic relationship. It's I want to buy something, I want to sell something, so I walk over to an expert, and this expert has to tell me how to do it. But the new generation of consumers, the younger generation of consumers, just don't like that, right? Like that trust has to be built over time. You can't just pick somebody off the street and say, hey, help me make one of the biggest transactions of my life, and if not the biggest transaction of my life. And so the company was trying to change that, and it's trying to change that by liberating the data, kind of making it more useful. So getting the access to the data that nobody has access to and making it more useful to the consumer, right? Now, at the same time, we combine that with what we consider our trusted agents, right? So we bring the most capable there, so that relationship of trust continues. You'll see the theme of trust in everything we do in our company. And then we also upscale those agents with additional technologies so that they can do their job better and focus on what they really want to do, which is support somebody in their process, not worry about how to manage this or how to deal with a contract, or that's handled, right? And so that's the vision for the company. It's kind of changing that relationship, and leveraging technology and the latest and greatest, I would say, in thought leadership in real estate, to kind of do that.
The reason I was asking, because that's a shift when someone think about it, coming from, correct me here, Shane, even when we think about it, but there must be something exciting. And the vision question was raised because I think you must have seen something really interesting when the property CA, that came up. So now next question, Shane, to you, when you are looking at Stack, what's your goals or what's your vision for Stack for let's say next 5 years?
Sure. So I started Stack in partnership with Srini, my other co-founder, and both of us come from completely different backgrounds, but met through one of our mutual friends. And we both had a real passion for delivering projects and technology to companies, but focusing more on like your fintechs, your startups, your scale-ups. Now, one of the things that we noticed quite significantly was a real lack of care and due diligence done. You've got your big consultancies go in, a lot of them do a fantastic job, but then a lot of them go in and for them, it's just burning the rate card by putting lots of people on the project. And on the other side, there's a lot of agencies out there, maybe recruitment agencies who are plugging into these companies who are just delivering day-on-day resource. Now, the problem you get there is that connect with that company because they're there on a timesheet. So we set up Stack with a few goals, but there's a few pillars that we work on: cloud, cybersec, and data. We've also got another arm which Srini's looking at, which is more around the Salesforce collaboration and partnerships. And we're setting ourselves as a mid-market boutique consultancy to focus on working directly with companies with their challenges. Myself, I push myself out there. I work on some of their Agile projects. I'm working on one at the moment with a large company. I've got another one coming up between now and the next couple of weeks, where I'll be going in and just advising, consulting, and working with the businesses to really understand if their appetite's there for Agile change. But if I look at us over the next 5 years, we're more than likely not going to be the same business as what we are now. What we are now is someone who's been in business for 18 months, who's learning to find their feet. But within the next 5 years, we've got a lot of people working for us in India. We've got a lot of people working for us in the UK. But I see us becoming more of a global partner where we're utilizing technology and resource in different countries and continents where they've got strength, like Philippines, Singapore, some of the Eastern European countries, but then also have more technology-driven infrastructure where we can support a lot of the clients, but also having that resource readily available, whether or not it's remote or on premise, where we can actually deliver the project straight away, keeping the cost not at the same cost as what you would get with a big franchise consulting company, probably a lot less, but still the delivery is more handheld, so they feel like they're getting value for partnership.
Thanks, Shane. Bayan, this is for you. The last 2 years have been challenging for many sectors, particularly real estate. So what do you think? What was the impact on real estate, not in terms only in the monetary, but when it comes to jobs, there is a multiple aspects of it. So how much the real estate, one, impacted? And second is, which technology do you look at to help to keep or help real estate business going forward?
Good question. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of years. So in North America, Canada for sure, but I think across all North America, the real estate sector actually has been flourishing. So, the initial pause during the first wave, like March, April, May of 2020, the market basically stopped. Yeah. It was like a pause. It wasn't a sell-off. It was a pause. Nothing happened, right? And so actually prices stayed the same. But after that, the market just got super hot. And has continued to be hot. And 2021 has been a shockingly fantastic year so far for Canada, but for everybody in North America, I think. I have theories about why that is, but it's probably related to kind of a massive transfer of wealth that's been happening, and then people have money to spend. It also has been because people are changing where they want to live, right? So the more work from anywhere is becoming a thing, there's an exodus from the urban centers into more rural centers, especially in North America, right? So, cottage country here in Canada, which is up north, which is far from any real city, prices went up by like 50% in 1 year, right? And so that transition is changing what I would say the micro economics of real estate. But overall, it's been just very, very strong. People like to put money into real estate when they don't know what's going to happen in the economy, because although real estate can tank, it's usually not the first one, right? Yeah. I think recent inflation rates as well have shown that the US is probably going to have a 5% inflation rate. Canada's going to have a 3% inflation rate. But if you put your money in real estate, you might have a 10% return in the same time. Like, anybody who has sitting on money, it just makes sense to put it into property or land, right? And so that's been driving it. Now, technology-wise, what we're looking for, I think the embrace of doing things as much as possible in a virtual manner has been kind of a big uptake 2020, 2021. Again, my company is not noticing that, is not really noticing the shift internally, because we were already trying to do that. That was one of the things we were bringing to market already, just being more and more digital. So like I said, we were ready for that transition. But I think other companies are realizing that you have to think through that process. You have to understand both your user journey and your agent journey, and see how you can make it as easy as possible to do their transaction without ever having to see each other. Now they will, but you have to assume they won't. And we've actually had purchases and rentals where people have never even entered the house. They're usually investors. And so the technology to even facilitate that is necessary. And so there's a whole slew of them. It's hard to kind of pick one, but it's all about facilitating the transaction and the process of purchasing without actually having to be physically present, right?
Thanks, Bayan. Shane, you have mentioned that the stack is working as to connect with the people, right? So that they can bridge that gap. So, and you have been shared your views about the Agile, and I'm pretty sure, that helps, because Agile talks more about the collaboration part of it, how we are including people, how we are working together, So what are the new emerging trends in Agile that you are looking at, that you think that might impact, that would be the next thing?
The number one for me that I've seen is not just picking up that book and thinking that you are going to learn everything.
That's a difficult one.
Yeah. But also, a lot of companies spend thousands, if not millions, on bringing in an expert company to come in and define their agile roadmap. and then they expect to hand it over to the business, and the business pick up that mantra and say, right, I've now got to deliver page A, page B, page C. Doesn't work. If you're not in tune with the Agile journey and you're not bought into the Agile journey, then you failed your Agile mission. You could spend $1 million on bringing in the biggest consultancies to tell you what you need to do, but if the business are not on board, you've just wasted £1 million. The best way, and one of the trends that I'm seeing, are businesses who are working more with experts in the industry, whether or not that's bringing in interim resource, people from boutique consultancies. I've got it myself, and I've been helping companies sort of realign those values. But it's understanding the business and what changes they want to make and why they want to be agile. And then it's working on the lean factors, so looking at their waste, and areas that can impact their agile journey. But then flipping that back is you then need to make sure you're getting people in the business to be ambassadors and sponsors for change, and driving that through from top, bottom top, left to right, making sure that everyone lives and breathes and understands the agile journey. But the last point is, don't just think agile is the pill that makes everyone better, or the solution that makes the whole company work and survives. Agile is a method to help businesses get better, and if you adopt agile the right way to fit your business, but encompass other methodologies like your Kanbans, your waterfall, your lean, etc., to then make your methodology more bespoke to you and how you want to work, then your outcome in 2-3 years time is going to be a lot greater, because you've not just tried to change your business to be agile as per the book. You've adopted agile your way, and you've worked it through with the business, and you've started small. You've gone into areas in the business where it's got a higher impact. You then take that case study, you then replicate it, and you keep going until the whole business is on a continuous change journey.
Thanks, Shane. I was having this webinar with one of our speakers yesterday, and they brought a very good point. I know it's something related to it, that we are working with technologies. Now, the major question is whether we have to build it in-house or whether we have to buy the COTS product. So this is one of the biggest concerns for leaders, because when they are talking to their CTOs or CXOs, then you have to make their decisions whether we need to scale up our workplace or whether we need to outsource it to the other organizations who already have built up that product. So what would be how would you look at Bayan, when such kind of situation happen, or what such kind of decisions you need to take? What would be your parameters of looking at, like, the key points? I know it's not that simple questions, I'm pretty sure about it, but there may be some simpler way, little bit, that we need to take care of before coming to a decision that, okay, we need to just buy this product, or we need to scale up our team.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's actually quite simple. I mean, the mechanics of it is difficult, but the decision point is usually quite simple. And the decision point is based on one guiding factor. Is it a competitive differentiation for your value proposition, right? If you need something that, and there's nuances to that, but generally, if something that you are thinking about doing is a core piece of the value proposition, or is a key differentiating feature of your offering, then the immediate decision usually is, let's try to do it in-house. Now let's see if we can afford it, and then we start solutioning. But that's usually the deciding factor, because you should outsource the commodity and in-source the differentiation, especially as we grow as a company. I think, sorry, as you grow as a company. Generally, just the guiding factor. I think that technology is becoming more commoditized. There's a lot of things you can just buy off the shelf. Combine that with micro investing, which allows companies to get access to capital fairly quickly from random people, right? Or microfunding, I should say. And you could see that those two factors allow anybody in their basement, and basement is maybe the wrong term, but anybody in their home to come up with an idea, differentiate on a key piece, outsource the rest of it, whether it's capital outsourcing or just using existing platforms, and and all of a sudden you have a new idea that can disrupt existing players, right? So it's key to kind of, even for the big companies, to continue to focus on only insourcing as much as possible what is really key to your business and what is the differentiating factor.
Shane, same question, because I know you are into a similar business with like AIT. So you might look at differently, same thing, whether we need to make partners or whether we need to scale up, So how would you decide, okay, this is where we need to partner up or where we need to scale up our team?
I think the first thing you need to do is look at the business and look at who in the business would have that right experience to deliver a project or a particular area you wanted to focus on. And if that person doesn't exist in the business, do you have capital or do you have money to then bring this person in? Now, as a startup organization, sometimes the money's not there. So actually, what companies tend to do is just put it off because they're proud business owners. They just want to focus on their own stuff, to the point that your idea 2 years later, someone's completely done that. It's on the shelf. People are using it. They're making millions. My suggestion is work with your strengths and outsource what you need to. Outsource what you need to partners that you value, that have the same values as you. A lot of people go to the big consultancies, a lot of the bigger companies. And years ago, the saying was, no one ever got fired for hiring, a big consultancy if the project went wrong. Well, actually, that's no longer true. There's a lot more accountability on the executives because they're bringing in these consultancies. So to reduce that wastage, look for companies who are small to medium size, who have similar, look abroad as well, look at different countries. We're getting a lot of companies approaching us on a regular basis to partner with them in areas that we're not strong in. And actually we're listening to them because, rather than being known for an organization who thinks they know what they're doing and failing, we'd rather partner with someone who are good at one thing and we're good at the rest. Whether or not we stand at the same brand or whether or not we go in as an equal partnership to those companies. Yeah, a lot of it is about building what's right for the business, but being honest with yourself, not thinking that you can do everything.
Yeah.
And know when to let go, know when to give stuff to people that know better than you.
Yeah, let me clarify also my answer, right? So when the question was buy versus build, and I was suggesting you buy external if it's not a competitive differentiation. If it is a competitive differentiation, what I meant by doing it in-house, I did not necessarily mean you don't use outsourcing partners, because that to me is not really buying, that's building, but just having somebody else help you build. And so to me, that's still in-house, because I consider our outsourcing partners our business, right? Especially when you rely heavily on them, especially trusted partners, as you say, Shane. 100%, I agree with what you just said.
Thanks, Bayan. We have a question here. In your opinion, if not Agile, what other suitable or best strategies can be followed in current situation? Any one of you, because I know you are following Agile.
I'll start. Shane, you can take on this. I'm just going to say that what Shane said earlier was music to my ears, because it's hard to hear people, like usually people talk about buying the book, paying the few $1,000s to get somebody to come in and do some stuff for you. What they don't realize, and I think Shane was trying, like, said it perfectly, Agile is a state of mind before it's a process, right? And so the question implies to me that, like if I can't bring Agile process as is and use it, then what else should I use? And I think it'd be good to kind of revisit that thought. It's a state of mind. It's responding to the needs of your business and your customers. And then all of a sudden you can talk about the details of what that means. I'll hand it off to Shane because he's the expert there, but I just felt that I should say that because I 100% agree. It was refreshing to hear. Right?
You pretty much answered it how I would. It's you kind of really need to look at your business and adapt, evolve, but look at the methodology or the hybrid methodology that's right for you, and then make it work. Don't pick up a book and expect that to be the answer. If we could pick up a book and expect that to be the answer, then we would be better husbands, we'll be better parents. There will be better world leaders. There will be better football managers. books are guides. Actually,
Yeah.
the real life experience. That's where the telling is.
No, I completely understand, because when I started like 2 years back, when I was going through the scrums and agile methodologies, so I started all the manifesto, agile manifesto, and later on it's the starting point. This is not how things should be. It evolves with the team. It evolves with the people. Most of the thing is how you are connecting with everyone, how you are empathy is one thing that I think is very important when we are dealing with teams. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, Bayan, for wonderful sessions, and we really enjoyed having a conversation with both of you. Any final words for our viewers?
It's a journey, and to be on that journey, you've got to be passionate and you've got to believe in what you want to achieve. So just keep on pushing those boundaries, work hard, and you'll get the results you need. Thanks,
Bayan. Thanks, Shane. Bye.
I mean, and just in the essence of the purpose of the session, which is a leadership summit. I don't know the demographic of the people on the call, but generally, leadership is not about titles and it's not about seniority. Leadership is about making yourself and the people around you better and kind of coalescing over a common goal. Always remember that you can be a leader wherever you are, and whatever role you're doing, home, work, whatever. And so it's don't worry about titles too much. Just start being a leader by exhibiting those leadership qualities. And if you're worried about titles, of course, those will come eventually. I wouldn't worry about it.
Very well said, Bayan. Thank you so much for the wonderful words. And it's amazing having you here. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. Anytime.
It was an honor. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.